What's good? It's Wood. We are moving along through our 2023 Grammy Awards coverage. We've been going category by category, predicting winners, picking some of our winners, and now we are well into the four major categories. Those four major categories are Record of the Year, Album of the Year, Song of the Year, and Best New Artist. In this video, we are taking on Song of the Year. This is one of the oldest categories at the Grammys, and this one actually started like in 1959. And to clean up some of the confusion between Song of the Year and Record of the Year, just think of Record of the Year as being basically the finished product, like when you finish the construction of the song, the recording of the song, the mixing, the mastering, the final product that you hear on the album or on the radio. That is Record of the Year, whereas Song of the Year is a Songwriters Award. So you'll see the recipients of that might include the artist, might include the producer, might include a few names that you're not even familiar with that also partook in the writing of the song. So again, Song of the Year is the construction of the song, the architecture, if you will, the actual lyrics, melody line, and so forth, whereas Record of the Year, think of that as being, if songwriting is an ingredient that goes into the recipe, think of Record of the Year as being the finished meal when the recipe is all put together. All the ingredients come together to form the Record of the Year. So this is Song of the Year. This is actually one of the oldest categories at the Grammys. It started in 1959, and the first recipient of the award was Domenico Modugno with Nel Blue, Dipinto di Blu. This is like way back in the days, again, 1959, and the biggest songs at the time were often on movie soundtracks. So you'll see the nominees and winners of a lot of the awards in the early 60s and the late 50s. Some of the biggest works, again, were soundtrack songs. So shortly after the award started, you started getting Henry Mancini, who was one of the biggest artists like in the mid to late 50s entering into the 60s. And he and his songwriter Johnny Mercer, they actually won this award twice. They won it in 62 with Moon River, and then in 64 with Days of Wine and Roses. Now, the most wins in this category's history, it's actually a 12-way tie with 2 wins apiece. Now, as I mentioned, Henry Mancini and one of the greatest 50s and 60s songwriters, Johnny Mercer, they won twice. So they make up 2 of the 12 people tied with 2 wins in the category. Another 4 members who are tied with 2 are the 4 band members of U2. So you've got Bono, you've got The Edge, you've got Larry Mullen Jr., and you've got Adam Clayton. So again, all 4 band members are credited with the songwriting there. So all 4 of them are recipients of the award. The other 6 artists or songwriters that are tied with 2 are Adele. She won with Hello and Rolling in the Deep. We've got D-Mile, who's actually up for Songwriter of the Year this year. He won it last year along with Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak's Silk Sonic, Leave the Door Open. D-Mile was one of the songwriters of that. And then the previous year, the artist Her, won it with I Can't Breathe, and D-Mile was one of the songwriters of that song. So he actually has won the last 2 years. And that Leave the Door Open song was actually Bruno Mars's second win. So he's another person who's tied with 2 wins. He did it with that Silk Sonic, Leave the Door Open, and then he did it with That's What I Like from the 24K Magic album. In fact, I think 24K Magic, the song, won it for Record of the Year that same year. I gotta double check that, but yeah, I know That's What I Like won Song of the Year. So Bruno Mars has 2 wins, as does Will Jennings, who won it with Eric Clapton's Tears in Heaven. So they won it in 93. And then he won it with Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On from the Titanic soundtrack, along with James Horner. So Will Jennings has 2 wins with the songs I just mentioned, and then James Horner has 2 wins as he was the composer of the Titanic soundtrack. So he was one of the songwriters of Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On. So he won it with that, and then he won it with Somewhere Out There. That's the Linda Ronstadt and the late James Ingram song from the American Tail. In American Tail, that's the movie with Fievel the mouse, and then there was a sequel of that called Fievel Goes West. But yeah, An American Tail had a song Somewhere Out There. James Horner was one of the songwriters of that. So he has won this award twice. James Horner, by the way, died tragically in a single pilot plane crash like in 2015. That's pretty tragic. Brody Brown is the 12th person who has won this award twice, and he's been a longtime collaborator with Bruno Mars as well. So that's the 12-way tie with 2 wins in this category. The most nominations in the category is a 3-way tie with 6 nominations. Those 3 artists or songwriters are Paul McCartney, Lionel Richie, and Taylor Swift. They are all tied with 6 nominations here. And then it's a 5-way tie for second place, if you will, even though there are 3 people tied for first place. There's a 5-way tie with 5 nominations between Burt Bacharach, Beyonce, Jay-Z, John Lennon, and Bruno Mars. The last 5 recipients of this award have been Silk Sonic with Leave the Door Open, Her with I Can't Breathe, Billie Eilish with Bad Guy. Billie Eilish killed it that year. Childish Gambino with This Is America, and then Bruno Mars, as I mentioned, with That's What I Like. Now let's get into this year's Song of the Year nominees. Now, it should be noted that traditionally, historically, this category had 5 nominees every year. Well, in 2019, they expanded the field to include 8 nominees, and then just last year, they expanded it again to include 10 nominees. So we have 10 nominations here. Those nominees are Gayle with the song ABCDEFU, Lizzo with About Damn Time, Taylor Swift with All Too Well, the 10-minute version, which came with a short film, Harry Styles, As It Was, Steve Lacy, Bad Habit, Beyonce with Break My Soul, Adele with Easy On Me, DJ Khaled featuring Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, John Legend, and Friday with God Did, Kendrick Lamar with The Heart Part 5, and then Bonnie Raitt with Just Like That. Now, this kind of breaks down into a couple buckets, if you will. You have certain songs that charted super well and had just mega commercial success on the Billboard Hot 100, like Bad Habit by Steve Lacy. That actually hit number 1 on the charts. As It Was by Harry Styles also hit number 1, as did Beyonce's Break My Soul, and as did Lizzo's About Damn Time and Adele's Easy On Me. So you've got about half of the nominees here who hit number 1 on the charts. Gayle's ABCDEFU came close. They hit like number 3. But the other songs weren't super high charters. They were songs that had a reputation of just being brilliantly written songs, or there was something that was like very stand-out-ish about the song that garnered it this sort of esteem without it having the same commercial success as Break My Soul or Harry Styles' As It Was. Now, if I was to generalize just a little bit about each one of these nominees, I would say Gayle, it was kind of a typical single. Nothing really stood out to me about ABCDEFU. It's a cute bop. It's a single. It's something that gets, radio play. You could hear it playing like, I don't know, like in a cool restaurant or something, or maybe even at the gym. It's like one of those songs that just kind of, it just typifies a single, where it's kind of like a revenge song where the girl's mad at the guy, so she just kind of letting him have it. And then you've got the song About Damn Time, which is by Lizzo. It's another one of Lizzo's kind of empowerment songs, kind of a funky pop song. Then you've got Taylor Swift's All Too Well. This is a part of Taylor Swift's re-release. This isn't like a part of Taylor Swift's new Midnights album. It's not a part of her last couple of albums, Folklore and Evermore. This is a part of Taylor Swift's quest to re-record her first 6 albums, because her first 6 albums worth of her discography were purchased from her record label by her former agent, Scooter Braun. So Taylor Swift was pretty hot about that. She ended up wanting to own her masters, if you will. So she went back to the studio and has been on this mission to re-record her songs. And she's already re-recorded a couple of them. I think she did Fearless, and then she did Red. Well, All Too Well, the 10-minute version, is the re-recording. So it's basically Taylor Swift today re-recording a song that she might have done 8 years ago, or in the case of Fearless, I think more than 10 years ago, which is interesting because there are obviously a lot of similarities in the 2 versions, but Taylor Swift is older, the production is a little bit different, so you could hear different nuances between the original recording and then these re-recordings. Well, All Too Well, it's expanded from like a 4 to 5 minute song to a 10-minute version. Very good song. It was accompanied again by a short film. Taylor Swift just, she's just in all her glory, songwriting chops wise. So her and the other songwriter here, Liz Rose, they're up for All Too Well. This one wasn't even re-released as a single. It wasn't even a single on the original album, Red. So this isn't one of Taylor Swift's several #1 singles, but it is a well-respected song, and the re-recording just kind of became viral because of the 10-minute nature and the short film that accompanied it. Then we've got Harry Styles' As It Was. Now, this one is one of those where if you could get a synth melody line down, think Aha's Take On Me, that 80s song that goes right? You've got As It Was. That's kind of doing something similar to that Aha Take Me Out song, where it just has this infectious synth line that, it could just get lodged in your head. And if you're able to do that, like a great guitar riff. Think, Jimmy Page's and Led Zeppelin's Heartbreaker, or Whole Lotta Love, or like the countless Rolling Stones songs with brilliant guitar riffs. If you've got an infectious guitar riff, you've got yourself a potential iconic or timeless song. Well, As It Was, like Aha's Take On Me, is just one of those infectious melody lines that just get glued in your head. And so I just think that was brilliantly produced, like, well done. And I don't know if Take On Me or Aha or the songwriters there got any sort of writer's credit, because it's not the same melody line. It just has a similar vibe to it. So yeah, I'm sure you've heard As It Was, but if you haven't, give it a listen, then listen to Aha's Take On Me. Like, you'll see what I'm talking about. Then we've got Steve Lacy's Bad Habit. Now, Steve Lacy, he is a renowned guitarist, artist, singer from the group The Internet. He's from Compton, California. He's been pursuing his solo career over the past few years, and it's been interesting watching his ascent from being a member of a group that was kind of breaking big as a cool group coming out of the LA area, to him now being a recording artist, a solo artist who's got a #1 single in Bad Habit. And this song was kind of all over the place this year. Like, you heard it a lot. I'm not in love with the song, but I get the appeal of it. It's got like a kind of a cool synth line, not as cool as Harry Styles' As It Was song, but it's got kind of like a cool vibe to it. I'm not a huge fan of his vocals, but he's a pretty good vocalist. And this is just a very well-produced, well-put-together song. And it certainly elevated Steve Lacy's name even more. Then we've got Beyonce's Break My Soul. Beyonce, she just had a moment this year with that Renaissance album, with this Break My Soul song, with basically her album coming on the heels of a Drake album that was trying to channel 80s groove, 80s house, 80s, pop. Well, Beyonce came on the heels of that, but Beyonce's album was so much more well-received than that Drake album. And Beyonce, she kind of repurposed a lot of tropes in the music that was working well at that time. Like, if you just listen to the boom, 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 that sound on the beginning of Break My Soul and throughout Break My Soul, it sounds super familiar. It sounds like it's from the era of Grace Jones and from a lot of the artists that were doing their thing in that 80s house era. Break My Soul kind of embodies this, and much of Beyonce's Renaissance album is channeling that. Now, you've got Big Freedia, who's got like a vocal line, a sample. Release your wiggle, release your mind, release your stress, release the... Like, I remember shooting a Big Freedia song just around the corner at Marina Park in Long Beach, California, when Music Tastes Good was taking place over there. Big Freedia was one of the performers, and I've shot so many artists between the years of like 2013 to 2016, 2017. There weren't too many experiences that were as overwhelming and as, oh my God, this is like a once in a lifetime type of vibe as shooting Big Freedia. But Big Freedia has such a presence on this Break My Soul song. And again, this is just a knockout single. It hit #1. Beyonce has won this award, Song of the Year award, once in the past. She did it with Single Ladies, should have put a ring on it. So with this Break My Soul nomination, Beyonce actually has a chance of becoming a 2-time winner. And then she would be in the company of those other few artists with 2 wins. And then we've got Adele, who actually has a chance on becoming the first 3-time winner of this award with Easy on Me. Easy on Me was the lead single of Adele's latest album, 30. Ever since that 21 album, because remember, Adele released that 19 album with the song Chasing Pavements, and then she broke big with the 21 album with Rolling in the Deep. And ever since that, Adele's lead singles on the 21 album, Rolling in the Deep, the 25 album, Hello, and then now the 30 album, Easy on Me, the lead single always hits #1 and ends up being one of the biggest and best songs of the year. So yeah, Easy on Me is one of those just undeniable Adele singles. And then we've got DJ Khaled's God Did, which featured a pretty iconic verse at this point. It was a very viral verse, to say the least, from Jay-Z. Jay-Z, kind of half retired, one of the greatest rappers of all time with arguably the greatest music catalog for any rapper of all time. He delivered like a several minute long verse on the back half of this God Did song, and I think that that's largely the reason why that one is nominated here. Again, it also has verses from Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, and has features from John Legend and Friday. But yeah, DJ Khaled, God Did. Khaled isn't like a musician necessarily himself, but he's kind of an ideas guy, right? He's the person who's kind of saying, okay, I'm going to get, my artist friends. I'm going to get Future or 21 Savage or Lil Baby, and then put them together on a song that's produced by this person. So he's kind of the one who's brokering the relationships and the musical pairings of his several albums. And he's got an incredible discography at this point. Look at how much music this guy has put out over the past decade and a half. So yeah, DJ Khaled featuring those artists I had just mentioned with God Did is nominated here, as is Kendrick Lamar with The Heart Part 5. This was actually just a promotional single. This wasn't the official single from Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers album. It was a promotional single. It had a video that went viral because it starts off with Kendrick Lamar kind of getting into his frantic style where it just becomes one long verse where the drama in the verse and the intensity is building up throughout the song. And as he's just rapping, it's just him in front of the camera. Not too many crazy things going on, except for his face is using this AI generated thing where it's, kind of doing a deep fake, and he's rapping his verse, but then his face turns into Kobe Bryant, O.J. Simpson, Nipsey Hussle, amongst several others, but it's still doing the words as if these different people I just mentioned and more people are actually rapping what Kendrick Lamar is rapping. So a lot of people were tripped out by that video. But yeah, The Heart Part 5, it's another one of Kendrick Lamar's just brilliantly crafted songs, just songwriting wise. This guy is one of the best songwriters of our time, to where every time he releases an album, it's almost an instant classic. So The Heart Part 5, look, I think that there were some songs from Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers that I thought might have even been better songwriting wise than The Heart Part 5. For instance, Auntie Diaries. Go give that one a listen. But yeah, The Heart Part 5, brilliantly written. Upon the album's initial release, The Heart Part 5 wasn't even on it. It was just kind of appended at the very end of the album later on, on Spotify and on the different platforms, but it technically wasn't a part of the original Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers album. But yeah, you could find it now tacked on the back of it or at the end of it. And then we've got Bonnie Raitt with Just Like That. Bonnie Raitt, she's kind of like a blues rock, pop singer-songwriter type of artist. It's interesting. She was around throughout the late 70s and then throughout the 80s, but didn't start breaking big until 1989, 7 or 8 albums in. So she had like a decade and a half of moderate success, and then started having #1 albums and #2 albums from 89 to 1998 and beyond. She's still obviously recording till this day, but it's just interesting. Rarely do you get an artist whose trajectory is like that. Bonnie Raitt, very unique artist who had timeless music in the late 80s and through the mid 90s with songs like I Can't Make You Love Me. Well, she's got a very good song here with Just Like That, and Just Like That didn't chart. It wasn't released as a single. It wasn't playing all over the radio. It wasn't one of those ubiquitous songs, but it's one of those, again, super well-respected, well-written songs that found its way to this Song of the Year nomination. So who do I think should win and who do I think will win? Look, I would actually like to see Kendrick Lamar win with The Heart Part 5, but I just feel like this is gonna be the year for Beyonce. And look, I like the Taylor Swift All Too Well 10-minute version. I do like that. And as I mentioned, that Harry Styles As It Was, super infectious. Still can't get that synth melody line out of my head. Adele obviously did her thing with Easy On Me, but I feel like Break My Soul, along with the album that it's on, Renaissance, I just feel like this is gonna be the year that Beyonce is walking away with a handful of awards. Now, she's been Grammy Award winning in the past. I don't think she's ever won Album of the Year, and we're gonna get to that video next. But I think that she's gonna basically take home a bunch of awards. I feel like this is gonna be like Beyonce Appreciation Day at the Grammys this year. And I think that Break My Soul is gonna win Song of the Year. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this category and on its nominees. Like, who do you think will win this award? Who do you think should win this award? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you love music like I do. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.